Hey guys, welcome again to another episode of the Bitcoin News Show. We're here at Monday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific time with our guests here. We got a new guest joining us tonight for the first time. His name is Ansel. You can find him on Twitter at Ansel Linder. How you doing, Ansel?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for showing up, man. I'm really glad to have you. Daniel, we got with Daniel again. Welcome back from you and me BTC. How you doing?
Awesome. Doing pretty great.
Awesome. Nice to have you back. Thanks again for coming back. Just real quick, for the audience, I want to just recap since it's been a while since we've had the show. I just want to recap a little bit what the show's about, while we're waiting for our final guest. I just wanted to let everybody know again that this is, a very laid back show. We don't pay anybody for this show. We don't want to get paid for the show. I'm never going to have a sponsor on the show or anything like that. This is really just, and of course we're not experts. We're just all enthusiasts, and we just want to talk about Bitcoin. We're just here to have a laid back kind of conversation. I want to have it like everybody's just in a room talking Bitcoin. So just a little bit of a recap, and it has been over a month, I think, since our last episode, and so a lot of stuff has happened. We're going to go over some topics tonight. I think we got some pretty good topics. It's been pretty well discussed already, but you know what? That's what we're here to do, is discuss it more. So that's going to be lots of fun for us. So let me just move on right away to the first topic. I kind of squeezed this topic in here at the last minute, but really it's about, I just wanted to, since it's been that long since I've had a show, talk about the halvening real quick. I just want to say happy halvening to everybody who I missed. I was at a halvening party myself with Andreas Antonopoulos, believe it or not. That was pretty awesome. Got to check a bucket list, check one of my items off my bucket list, and had a beer with Andreas Antonopoulos. So that was awesome. And then we saw a lot of pictures from everybody else's having parties. So just happy halvening to everybody. With that out of the way, much to a lot of people's dismay, right? The halvening seemed to go off without a hitch. There was no death spiral. There was no huge problems. No huge amounts of miners went offline. Bitcoin didn't crash the price. And so just want to hear from you guys real quick. What did you guys think about the halvening? And did you guys have any maybe surprises, or did it go off just as expected? So I'll go with Ansel first. Tell me, Ansel, what do you think?
I thought the coverage was actually pretty good. I know the Bitcoin group, they had a live thing going on. There was someone put together something on YouTube where you could watch the halvening.com rocket with a live price feed and a live chat. That was really fun. There was a little bit of a pump and then a dump right before, but all the exchanges handled it fine. No hitch at all.
Awesome. Yeah, I didn't see anything going wrong with any exchanges. No exchanges went down. Like just absolutely business as normal. Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, same thing. It was just a lot of fun. I was in there with the Bitcoin group. I didn't even realize it was quite that close. But I woke up on a Saturday morning. They said they're going live to celebrate, and I said, "Heck yeah, I'm in." So it was just lots of fun. We mentioned it on our show, and we basically said it's nothing at this point. Bitcoin's old enough. It's nothing huge, but it's fun. It's a milestone. It's like New Year's or something. It was so much fun to just say, hey, we made it this far, and things are still chugging along. And actually, John, my co-host, made one of my favorite points, because we were talking about the question, hey, some people expected the price to spike or skyrocket or whatever because of the lower supply or the lower rate of supply. And John mentioned that, hey, a few, even within like the last year, and especially the year or two before that, everyone was getting on Bitcoin because, it's too volatile. You could go up or down in a heartbeat. But now we have this pretty big event, a big supply change, 50% change, and Bitcoin hardly budged. And it's a good news for stability. So
Absolutely. It's crazy. People were complaining about the volatility, just like you said. And right, we had almost a year of just just sideways, just perfect stability between 300 and 400, and then a rise up to 500, and now we're just hanging out like at 5. The only volatility that we're having right now is going up. Now that of course is because we're in a bull market, right? But we finally ended the bear market. But still, man, the volatility is all perfectly good. But of course, we want to let everybody know that of course there's going to still be more volatility ahead, right? There's it's very early.
Oh yeah,
very early days. We're at $650. If just like 0.01% of gold or just 0.1% of gold went into Bitcoin, it'd be thousands of dollars per coin, right? So it's going to be a lot more volatility, but it's just hilarious how beautifully stable it's been. Besides the recent rises, of course. So very cool.
I thought it was interesting when the price was hovering, in the 400s. For a couple months, everyone was saying, "Oh, it's priced in. It's priced in." There was absolutely no way to price it in. People don't know what the miners are doing. People don't know, what the traders are thinking. And so, then we had that spike up above 700. That was priced in. I think right now we're priced in. And then if you look at the last halvening, it took a couple months before it went back up, or parabolic, I guess, almost. So
I just really think it's hard to price things into Bitcoin, right? Maybe in the regular markets that's all regulated, controlled, and shut down if there's a move over 18%. But in Bitcoin, we have this crazy thing called no rationale, basically, right? We have this thing called the human personality. We are not robots. Bitcoin is not this perfectly fit regulated market with all of these checks and balances. Bitcoin is a 24/7 traded speculative investment right now that is global, and everybody is in this. Like you said, the consensus consists right now of miners, exchanges, wallets, users, and this huge ecosystem. Even being so small as it is, still this ecosystem being this small, there's still no way you can really price this stuff in, because every time people say that it's priced in, it just spikes up super high and then goes down super low and then goes sideways, right? So it goes super high, or too high, then too low, then of course corrects and goes sideways. So that's just how Bitcoin works, and we've seen it work like this for the last 4 or 5 spikes. Same thing every time. So all right, cool. So we got that out of the way. So just really happy having to everybody, and then to another 4 years of Bitcoin, successful Bitcoin.
The Olympics of Bitcoin.
And just real quick, just one last little point. I forgot to add. It's just crazy how this worldwide global financial event was put into the code over 7 years ago, right? Over 7.5 years ago, and yet here it comes, perfectly executed to the T, worldwide, among all of these millions of machines, just no problem, just without a hitch. And that is just, that's just amazing. When Janet Yellen can't tell us what interest rates are going to be next week, when they can't tell us what the M1 supply is going to be accurately next month, here we have global financial software running in the wild, executing perfectly over 7.5, almost a decade later.
That's true.
So
I like that. It's a good point.
So just awesome stuff. It's just endlessly fascinating.
It's because they don't waste time adding features, right? Like Bitcoin, everyone complains about it being so slow, right? Or the development so slow, but it went off without a hitch because everything is so planned out. Everything is so rock solid. You can't say that about any other currency.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect example. That's another reason why I went out without a hitch, because Bitcoin doesn't try to do everything under the sun. Bitcoin doesn't try to be a DNS service. We should just pull up one of these blockchain websites. Like, it's just hilarious what they claim to do. Like, just everything under the sun, like Ethereum, or there's another one I read recently, but it's just hilarious how they just claim to do everything. It's absolutely. Oh, we got Block Talk joining us. What's going on, Block Talk? Happy to have you in here. We love Sturkey, Alex Sturkin, and all this stuff. The great shows that he uploads to the World Crypto Network. So very cool stuff. But and so just Decred. That's what it was. I think Avatar. Yeah. Well, they didn't claim to do everything under the sun. Decred actually claimed to just be an actual cryptocurrency, believe it or not. which was one of the few cryptocurrencies I found as of recently that it actually claimed to just be a cryptocurrency. So kind of funny. But yeah, Bitcoin doesn't try to be all of these different things. It's just trying to send value from A to B. That's it. Just trying to send Bitcoin from A to B. Now, what we do with that Bitcoin can be endless, obviously. So it is absolutely still astonishing to me how this software can work this well, this late into the game. So let's move on to, I think we can move on to the next subject now. So thanks guys for that. Let's see, here we go. Yeah, so speaking of Ethereum, let's talk a little bit about Ethereum, right? We've had some kind of craziness going on recently. Let me just paste in this topic. Paste in the topic. Yeah, so basically, and the link too. Whoops, the link. Pasted the link for everybody to see in the live chat. Right now, the title really is, Ethereum hard fork creates competing currencies as support for Ethereum Classic rises. So basically, what we're saying is, what we're talking about is the recent Ethereum hard fork. So recently, Ethereum hard forked. It has now split into two chains. We have Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, and just recently we have seen Ethereum Classic now be listed on several exchanges, including Poloniex, Bitfinex, Shapeshift. We're seeing over 2,000 Bitcoin in just the last 24 hours traded. So I want to hear from the guests and what you guys think about the Ethereum fork in general, and then this momentum that seems to be building for Ethereum Classic. Let's hear from Ansel first. Tell me, what do you think now?
Okay, I talked about this on my my show, and I compared it to a social fork versus a technical fork, right? So Ethereum, it's not a technical fork at all. It's exactly the same. You can even broadcast the same transactions on both networks, and it works just the same. I mean, if you transact a classic Ethereum Classic transaction onto the new chain, it goes off just like any other transaction. So it's not a technical fork. It was a 100% social fork, and you've seen these social problems now happen. So with listing of the Ethereum Classic, I mean, it just, people are upset at the foundation. They're upset at kind of the, I don't know, judgment blockchains or this type of cryptocurrency is supposed to be valueless or ethic. It doesn't have ethics attached to it. It's just transfer of value. So
proof of friendship with Vitalik. Proof of friendship with Vitalik. Sorry.
Yeah. And so when you bring the ethics and the morals into it, people aren't happy. And so you saw this huge, that's what I'm getting out of it, is you see this huge social divide, and it was actually a social fork of the network.
Interesting, very interesting. So, I mean, what you're saying really is that that it's not a technical fork because this fork adds no new features and fixes no problems. Okay.
Right.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, Daniel, what do you think about this crazy Ethereum fork and now the momentum that's building with Ethereum Classic?
Yeah, I'll be honest. It's a pretty tough one for me. I mean, in general, I would never really support a fork. I think it's kind of counterintuitive. It's the cryptocurrency. We're not supposed to have any control over it or over where it goes or who owns it. And if someone, even if it's illicitly, if they gain control of a bunch of currency, then, well, they now have control of it. I'm sorry. It was dumb. It was wrong. It was wrong. But if they, it's cryptocurrency. It's forever. It's permanent. So on the one hand, that's, personally, I would never advocate for a fork like this, for rolling back a blockchain or anything. But with that said, it's that idea that whatever happens is set, it's the way things go, that actually kind of equally applies to having a fork. It's like, well, hey, this is what you joined, this cryptocurrency, this community, this network, and you agreed to the rules that, and you knew that this is something we've disagreed a little bit on this Vortex. I think I think I've kind of tried to make the point before that as much as we love Bitcoin, there still is that that kind of possibility that it could be changed. The rules could be changed. You know, a 51% attack can happen, and things, you know, there's a lot of caveats there, and especially in Bitcoin, it's almost impossible. I don't think it'll ever be rolled back at all. But, you know, there's still that possibility. Well, what if just enough people decide to do this or that? And it kind of, you know, you can make the same argument. Hey, that's the way it goes. It's permanent. That's what people said. That's what people do, and it moves on. And I think the latter is generally a little more. You make the distinction, Ansel, between technical and social. And as much as we love the technicalities of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, as much as we love the program and what it can do, you have to remember that it's a network, that it's a group of people that are just deciding to follow these rules, the rules of the network. And so you have to remember that there is a social aspect, and I would never push for a rollback ever, and I don't think it'll ever happen in Bitcoin. But to a certain extent, it's kind of legitimate. I mean, that's just what people decided to do. No, there was no force involved, and that's,
so,
you know, it just.
So let me say.
Go ahead.
So I think you know, I think it's important for people to remember that, you know, the blockchains between Ethereum and Bitcoin are different. You know, rolling back something in Ethereum is not the same as rolling something back in Bitcoin. Hey Alex, thanks for joining us, man. We'll get to you in just 1 second. And I think it's important for people to know that, you know, it's not quite the same, but because of course you're just rolling back one specific account instead of the whole history of the chain. But still, you know, I still have to go to one of this quote that I read the other day. This is kind of interesting, you know, because the guy said, as watertight as, you know, arguments like Daniel's were, you know, and others were, the reality is that the blockchain derives its value from being immutable, aka integrity, which is an attribute that Ethereum retains and Ethereum Classic, Ethereum Classic retains and Ethereum lacks forever, right? So this is
that I would real quick. I would agree with that. Like I said, I would never push for a rollback.
Sure.
And so because it's happened, I agree. The value is like, well, how am I going to trust that it's ever worth anything if they can just take it away from me if they decide to? So I agree completely there. It does lose a lot of value as soon as it becomes immutable.
Yep, exactly. So Alex, we were just talking here, of course, about Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. I want to get your thoughts on what you think about the fork first, and then the actual momentum that seems to be building behind the Ethereum Classic team.
Well, let's just kind of talk percentages for a second. Like, so right now the Ethereum Classic network is like 5%. The regular Ethereum or the hard fork. So 95% of the network voted that, you know, 15% of these funds should be returned to people. Like if it was even a closer argument, then it would have been, you know, a different story. But like you still have 95% of the miners are kind of agreeing with this. Like the 5% are, yeah, they're definitely sticking to their principles, and that's why you have the second market. But is it worth 5%? I don't know. We'll see how much of the market can be absorbed. So it is kind of an interesting concept. We'll see where it kind of goes. I think it's kind of putting in a floor now. It definitely wants to be, you know, 5% of the market. But I think the reason for the hard fork was, yeah, again, because of percentages. Okay, so let's look at the Vericoin hack. That was 30% of the coins were stolen. At that point, it's almost like it's a threat to the network. And if Ethereum goes proof of stake, you know, 15%, and I actually talked to Doug about this on one of my shows with him. He said 15% is kind of that borderline where proof of stake, it can be a bit of a risk. Delegated proof of stake, the numbers are a bit different. But again, they were just kind of like, it's a large percentage of the market cap is now in an untrustworthy hands. So basically what the Ethereum Foundation did was gave people the option to vote, and 95% have voted. And now we're in the situation where you have 5%. So, you know, blockchains are kind of like a jury, I guess. You know, you can have one person on a jury of 12 people disagree, and then you're still in this deliberation phase. That's really the only, like, if this was in a traditional voting mechanism, like, you know, politics of some sort of any country, 95% is pretty definite. I think that's kind of like the entire country agrees, yeah, we should probably take these funds away. So you, as an individual, like, say you make some killer dApp, like, you get 15% of the Ethereum tokens, and then you're worried that they're going to get it taken away. Well, yeah, that is a bit of a concern, but I don't think anyone's going to get that big again. I think we've learned our lesson that, like, it's pretty hard to see that this is going to happen a second time. Like, what was the other DAO? Digix. They put a cap on theirs. They were kind of smart. They're like, okay, we don't really want that many funds in a single contract. And that's kind of like the new policy that's maybe implemented. Sure, it's not a forced policy, but I think a lot of people are going to be smarter now.
I mean, it is kind of crazy that we got like over 2,500 almost BTC traded in Ether Classic in the last 24 hours. Like, between all the exchanges, when you add it all up.
Yeah, but again, it, like, the whales who had a lot of Ether have a lot of ETC, so it's really easy to slosh funds around when you're given
and that's
a
interesting
shitload
too.
of funds
Some
right at the
exchanges, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that some exchanges are allowing you to, like, if you had Ethereum in there, then you can spend that same amount in Ethereum Classic. So they automatically give you Ethereum Classic.
Yes, that's correct. So Bittrex right now is in a little bit of a conundrum because they allowed withdrawals after the hard fork took place, and that kind of screwed up the ledger, or like the ownership of ETC. So now they're basically deliberating on when should the snapshot be of who had Ethereum at a certain point of time, and then be given Ethereum Classic. Poloniex, I guess, had like the fruitful thinking to say, you know what, we're gonna keep the snapshot from that point, and everyone's account will be credited. And maybe Bittrex will go far back and do that too. But yeah, like, if you owned Ethereum during the hard fork, which is probably why it rallied into the hard fork, people saw the opportunity to own double their tokens.
Yeah, I think that Bittrex did have a bit of a delay on the DAO when you received your DAO tokens back. I think 72 hours or so after the fork, or everybody received an email, or 48 hours maybe.
Yeah, no, that was partly because they were dealing with this whole.
Because that's what I believe everybody received was an email saying that you'll receive your DAO tokens. You can't withdraw them for 48 hours. You basically can't touch them for 48 hours. So very interesting stuff. Okay, cool. So I think we got that topic done with. Unless anybody else has anything to say on the Ethereum stuff.
I just wanted to fill something in on that. So the percentages are going to change for sure. It changed from 100% down to 2% or 1%, and then it came back up to 5%. It might go to 2% and then to 20%. Who knows? Those will change. I also heard a theory that since Ethereum is cheaper on Classic chain, it's cheaper to run dApps. So if you are going to be burning gas, you should build for the old chain for your smart contracts. So this is going to go for weeks, if not months, and most likely, I think it will reach some sort of parity, or I don't know, but it's not as simple as 50.
You know what other network has? But you know what other network has really cheap gas? The testnet.
Which Ethereum and Ethereum Classic are to me pretty much. Okay, cool.
I'm going to go ahead and real quick. I hate making predictions because they're always dumb and wrong usually.
Yeah,
Daniel, but honestly,
what's wrong with you, man?
Honestly, I think I feel comfortable saying that, in a few months, 6 or 10, I don't think Ethereum is really going to be much of anything by then. It's either fork. It's either mutable, which is a problem, or it's somebody has already, has a ton of the funds, and that's a problem. A malicious person has a ton of funds, or it's mutable. I think, and that, I think that's a problem. I think both forks have serious issues. It's hanging in there for now because it's interesting. People are talking about it. People want to know what's going to happen. So I agree, Vortex, it's a test net. And I hesitate to make predictions, but sure, I'll throw it out there. I think it's gone before long.
It's just crazy how it's still $13 a coin. But go ahead, Ansel.
Wait till they go to proof of stake. I mean, if you thought this fork was bad,
I'm kind of with
there's going to be 4 Ethereums, each classic and the new chain.
I totally agree with that too. But here's what I seriously think. I have to agree with Tone, man. With Tone from the Bitcoin group, there's just no way they're going to go proof of stake. Like, I just seriously don't think. I seriously don't see them doing that. I mean, all the miners that have built up all their value all this time are just kind of. I just don't see that happening. But also because I think that there's going to be a lot more problems with proof of stake that will be proven and put into the wild at that point as well. Because at this point they've been promising it for over a year. It's probably going to be another year at least before they do it, if they do it. So yeah.
Well, it's the difficulty increase is hard coded, right? So in 2017, it's going to go up like 10x every month. And if the miners can't keep up, then the network will just stop because no one will be able to find a block.
That's
so
insane.
It's hard coded right now that they have to hard fork to stay on proof of work, basically.
Wow, I did not know that. So Ethereum has to hard fork in order to stay either way, proof of stake or proof of work. Yeah. That is quite interesting.
That's how I understand it. Yeah.
So there's going to be a whole lot more Ethereum classics, basically. Okay, cool. That's just interesting to know. Very funny, very funny. So let's see here. Going on to the next topic here. Before we do that, if everybody watching could just share out the chat, and you know what? Even if you're watching this, if you're not watching this live, we just love if everybody could tweet out the show. Let people know here we're talking Bitcoin, trying to grow our audience as much as possible here. So we can tell more people about Bitcoin. That's the goal, people, to spread the word of Bitcoin. All right, now let's see here. I'd like to talk a little bit about Steem. However, I actually was going to bring on Blake. Let me ask Alex or Daniel. Let me ask. Alex, do you have a lot to say about Steem? Would you have?
I guess I'm a Steem whale now.
You do actually. Maybe I with it.
Do, I guess.
Daniel, have you had experience with Steem yet?
I have not. I mean, I've heard bits and pieces about it, but yeah, never used it.
Would you mind jumping out one quick minute so Blake could jump in here? And,
yeah.
Just to talk about Steem here, I'd like to really get Blake's.
Yep, get in there. See you guys.
Appreciate it. Daniel will be right back. Thanks, guys. All right, so Blake, if you want to hop in there, Blake will be in here in just 1 minute. So I just wanted to talk about this kind of crazy thing called Steem. This basically there's this new currency called Steem, and there's been a bunch of markets about it, or a bunch of articles about it being a scam, a bunch of articles about it not being a scam. And right now it seems to me that it seems really easy to get money in there, to get your Bitcoin in there. But it's really difficult to get any money out because of the way that it's set up and all the different mechanisms that you have to go through in order to retrieve it. So I'd like to first get Blake in here, accept him. Okay, cool. And so first I wanted to get everybody's opinion, and I think I'll give mine. So first we'll go to Blake and then Alex. So Blake, tell me, what do you think about this new currency, Steem? What do you think about people calling it a scam? Is it a scam? Is it not a scam? And then also, what has been your experience with it so far?
Yeah, sure. Well, hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late. So I started writing for Steem back in early June. I think I heard about it in TradingView, and I've written in the past, and the idea of writing for something in that realm sparked my interest, so I just went after it and started writing. And once the July 4th thing rolled around and the rewards came out, I think I ended up with around 10,000 Steem power, or roughly the equivalent of it, which at the time was only like 20 cents per. So yeah, I pushed into converting into Steem power, and I'm glad I did. But Yeah, like so it didn't really click for me until I read through the white paper. Once I read through the white paper, I got it. There's the way the Steem power is structured and the way that you have to invest into it. It's it makes it dump proof. Like,
or they're trying to make it dump.
Yeah.
With kind of the complicated type of setup they have. Okay, sorry.
Yep. So yeah, so the way the setup works is once one Steem token you can convert up into Steem power, and what the Steem power does is affect your voting power. So how much your vote is actually worth when you upvote someone. So when you convert it into Steem power, if you want to convert it back out, you still own it. It's still applied to your wallet, but you have to initiate a power down. So you essentially turn off your Steem power. And then over the span of 104 weeks or 2 years, you get 1/104th of your total Steem power dispersed to your wallet as a Steem token. So like if you had 104 Steem power right now and you initiated the power down, every 7 days you would get 1 Steem token into your wallet. So
Okay.
right now there's roughly like
I thought you could power down everything at once, though.
You can. It powers down your entire stack of.
But you can't withdraw. Like the centralized website that references a blockchain, which is the decentralized system. The SteemIt website has basically said we're limiting withdrawals to 1%. So really, what they've done is created incentive for someone now to build their own version of the site on top of the blockchain, which doesn't have that withdrawal limit. Like that's where this, I think, argument of it's a Ponzi is kind of coming in, because like it's basically a web wallet. That's what SteemIt.com is.
Yeah,
right?
the SteemIt's a layer that runs on top of the Steem blockchain. So the rules apply to the blockchain regardless. It's not simply the web chain. So it's locked in the blockchain, basically a smart contract.
So real quick, so then Blake, let me see if I get this right. So it's a decentralized protocol, right? But it's a centralized website over the top of the decentralized.
SteemIt is, and there's like right now there's been probably 5 or 6 different tools or different GUIs that have been like brought up on the SteemIt website that have basically been crowdfunded. Like the coders and the developers behind it raked in a decent amount. I think one of them was up to $50,000 for a graphical user interface. So they get the liquid rewards for that. And
2 years.
he basically got he got about $25,000 worth of Steem as Steem power dumped into his account, and also $25,000 worth of Steem dollars, which is the currency that's pegged to $1.
So what's the maximum amount he could pull out then in 2 years?
Well,
over 2 years.
Well, immediately the one day after the post goes up, he has the half. So like he got $50,000 for that post that he made. So he has $25,000 liquid Steem dollars that he can remove immediately, and $25,000 that's vested into the platform. So he can only do 1/104th of a withdrawal every week. But once you initiate the power down, you no longer have voting power, and you're no longer receiving the interest rate that you receive for owning Steem power. So like you can hit the refresh button and look at your Steem. I've actually been doing some calculations on it, and you get, like right now I get 0.0013 Steem per minute. Yeah, that's about right. So yeah, it once you power down, you're no longer receiving those benefits, and your votes are worth nothing. So there's a trade-off if you want to start withdrawing.
So there's a trade-off between voting power and the money that you can withdraw.
Think of it like
how much liquidity you want.
And so let me ask you, what do you think about this whole SteemIt platform? You're muted. You're muted, Daniel. Sorry.
I think it's pretty cool. I just don't see why it needs a blockchain. It's already centralized through the website, and yeah, they're building other GUIs and stuff for it. But Like every time you add a feature onto a blockchain, you increase the attack surface. And Blake, you know, I thought your article last year of the attack of Bitcoin that was going on, I thought that was one of the pivotal articles of last year. But my opinion is every time you add a feature to a blockchain or to a protocol, it exponentially increase the attack surface of that blockchain. Another thing I think is that it is a sign of a Ponzi, not a Ponzi, but I don't know, an exit scam of some sort where you can't withdraw your money. And even if it is only 50% and then 104th every month or whatever it is, or week, then that's still tying up your money. So it's, I don't know, there's so many questions. I think it's pretty neat idea that other people have done similar things, I think, but with, you know, in network tokens. So that's kind of how I see it.
Let me ask you this then, Blake. So this money that's tied up, is this tied up in the blockchain or is this tied up in the website?
Blockchain.
So it's just a blockchain of tied up money.
Yeah, and actually, so
that's half liquid and half not liquid.
Well, the structure, it's like a 1-to-9 ratio. So there's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, it's very complicated. Like, that's why I'm trying to understand.
Yeah,
like,
it's complex.
Really I mean, do you think it's over complex or no?
It's over complex in the same way that the Bitcoin white paper was over complex.
The Bitcoin white paper was 9 pages.
Hear me,
and the white.
Hear me out here.
44
just hear me out here,
man. 44 pages. Okay.
I get that. Just hear me out for a second. So it's like they both developed a stool that has 3 legs that are the same length, and they accomplish the same weight distribution. It's a perfect. It seems perfect, like a perfect triangulation of balance, and that's exactly what a system has to have to survive and thrive. So the way I see it structured with the blockchain, you can see everything going on in the system. So you're able to see and know the people behind large movements and the funds, so you can have lead time on. All right, well. Like we know for certain, like 98% of the Steem tokens right now are frozen as Steem power. So you can start to get some intelligence and some market information in advance that everyone has the same perfect market information. Well, so that it creates more stability.
So okay, so in theory that sounds okay, but here's the problem: is that you're talking about balance, right? And Steem balance, Bitcoin balances the actual consensus. Bitcoin balances consensus among parties. But it doesn't balance anything in the protocol. In the protocol, everything is liberated, right? Everything is, you can move any amount, anytime, anywhere, and it doesn't matter how what. Now with Steem, it's not the same, right? They're trying to balance all sorts of stuff within the protocol itself instead of balance it with parties. So it's a whole different kind of balance. So when you're talking about saying, oh, well, it tries to balance things perfectly like an equilibrium like Bitcoin does, it's two completely different kinds of balancing here. And one is completely restrictive and one is completely liberating. So what do you think of that?
They both serve different ends. Sure. Like I was listening to Antonopoulos talk the other day, and was talking about. I see Bitcoin as, like, in my mind, I see Bitcoin as this high-powered, horsepower, V12 engine churning away. It was a thermodynamically secured currency, and that's what drives the chain of everything else. That Bitcoin was what makes all other things possible. So anything that you build within and around Bitcoin is external ecosystems that you can build and expand and grow greater ecosystems.
So speaking of Bitcoin like that, let me ask you this: if Bitcoin became bigger, and became much bigger than what it was. And somebody decided to just create a Bitcoin version of the SteemIt site using actual money, like Bitcoin. Sorry. What would you say to that? Would it completely just destroy something as tiny like SteemIt, or would SteemIt's balancing save it?
See, and this is kind of why I say it has a balanced approach towards different ends, towards different purposes. So the way Bitcoin is balanced is towards high-powered transactions anywhere across the globe with high degrees of security. That's basically untouchable to any sort of conventional hacking means. But SteemIt is highly balanced towards content creation and content reward and curation, because
not creation, right? Not creation, but curation. Not creation.
Well,
it doesn't facilitate any type of creation.
It would be like saying an apple tree wasn't balanced towards creating fruit. I mean,
that's ridiculous, because obviously an apple tree is balanced.
Well, but the DNA of a tree says that it will produce fruit, and the DNA of the SteemIt blockchain says that it will produce content.
Okay. So interesting. So very interesting. So then I want to hear from the rest of the panel here. So first we'll go to Ansel, then we'll go to Daniel. Ansel,
I just have a quick question. Yeah. So what is my incentive to upvote somebody?
So you also receive a reward for your curation. And this is another complex layer that I haven't dived down completely into, but basically, if you're one of the first person to upvote something that goes big, you receive a decent chunk of that reward. So every reward base, like if someone receives $100 reward, as it says on the webpage, 50% of the rewards go to the curators and 50% goes to the content creator. So the early you are in the curation, the higher of a percentage you receive from the total curation reward. If that wasn't too convoluted.
Interesting. Okay. So what do you think of that, Ansel?
Yeah, that was one point that when I was looking through the website and stuff, you see all these ways to reward people, curation and posting and all these other things. There's like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 different ways to get rewards. And I don't know, it just seems to me when you read that, it's like, but wait, there's more. You can do this, get 2 for 1 if you order right now. And so it just
convoluted.
I don't.
A little bit convoluted. Let me ask you this, Blake. Couldn't it be easily gamed? Because the incentive is to get a vote, to get money. So I mean, how easily could this be gamed? Now it is on top of the blockchain, right? So but still, how easily could this really be gamed in reality with
it? So even though there is incentive rewards for upvotes, there's also decentives for downvotes. So it can go in the reverse direction. And I've already seen it a few times. There was a post recently, someone basically plagiarized a heroin addict photo journal, basically. Some, pretty mid-20s heroin addict, basically. And so they plagiarized this thing, and after about 4 hours of the post going out and it reaching like $3,000, someone identified, hey, this thing's been plagiarized, and within a matter of an hour, there were 0 rewards for plagiarizing this. So
interesting.
It's I actually get one of my most rewarded articles was I identified this dude created a GUI that basically had all the transactions that were going on the Steem blockchain popping up on a web page, and I noticed there were some weird transactions in the internal market, and I noticed that basically it was one account with similar names selling into themselves to earn a liquidity reward, which at the time was like 1,200 Steem per hour, which is right now that's almost $4,800 per hour. And they were getting a lot of them. So I put this article together and it got like $1,100 for me, but it turned on the community. The questions started being asked of this person who's well known and active in like the Slack channels, and so he was explaining why he was doing it, and the conversation started. And actually, today or yesterday, I think, the newest release came out for Steem, and they changed the liquidity rewards. They froze it for now to try and find a better solution for it.
Sorry, Daniel. I'm gonna get to you, man. I just keep, coming up with these questions. So, what I find is that the more complicated and obfuscated things are, that's usually a sign that people want to hide things, and that's just kind of what I got from the white paper because of, again, the lack of actual technical information. In 44 pages, I thought there'd be a lot more technical information. Let me ask you this real quick, Blake. Did they do a crowd sale? Do you know?
I think they did. I think I read that they did.
Okay. That's always the first sign of usually of something's probably going to go awry with this cryptocurrency, right? The only one that actually
I'm not sure
the only one who actually didn't go too awry with the crowd sale was pretty much Ethereum, and of course, they've since gone all sorts of fun ways. So then
I missed that conversation.
Let me ask you this then, Blake. Why couldn't they just use Bitcoin for one of the three currencies, right? So you got Steem, Steem Power, and Steem Dollars. Couldn't they have used Bitcoin for just one of those?
Well, you think about it, like they're introducing layers of complexity and attack vectors. I think mixing up the blockchains and which currency you're using, that's a big attack surface.
Okay, so makes sense. So all right, so Daniel, let me ask, what do you think of all this? I know you've been listening to. So what do you think of Steem? And have you used? Oh no, you said you haven't used it, but what do you think about it so far? Just kind of from the periphery.
Yeah, that's all right. I like listening. It's good to hear all this stuff. So no problem at all there. It's all new to me. Well, I've heard a little bit about it before. I will say I agree with the general sentiment that it just seems a little fishy, mostly because one of the first videos I saw about it was this guy. It's like, the price is going up. The price is going up. It's crazy. The price you could just keep getting rich, and the price is going up. I mean, but people said that about Bitcoin too. So I don't know. The whole thing about freezing funds seems a little weird. So can you maybe you already did, or maybe, I guess this is probably one of the first things people would learn about this, but I don't know. So, but just for clarification, as soon as you move any Steem, it changes into Steem Power, a portion of it. Is that what happens?
So once the Steem is in your wallet, you have the option of either powering it up, selling it in the internal market, or transferring it. So just doing a normal transfer within the Steem network. But yeah, you actually have to select power up, and you can designate how much Steem tokens in your wallet you want to convert to Steem Power.
Okay, and so nothing is frozen until you convert them to Steem Power? And then
well, yeah, so there's a manual power up, but there's all, like, the rewards are automatically pushed into Steem Power. Like, there's no well, some of them are, the half of them. So like once you get your reward for an article or whatever, whatever portion gets automatically pushed into Steem Power.
Okay, and then over time, Steem Power frees up again into regular Steem?
If you initiate a power down. So you have, in that same option menu in your wallet, you have to initiate a power down, and that power down starts the 7-day clock ticking. So every 7 days you get 1/104th of your total.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So
I don't know, man. I'm still worried about it, but please, sorry, Daniel, go ahead.
so is a 7-day power down? So over 7 days you get everything back?
Yeah. Well, no, every 7 days you get another.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, it's interesting.
And so you can stop it too. Like, so you can power down for 1 week, stop a power down, and you turn it back on. So like if I wanted 1/104th of my total Steem Power next week, I could, just turn it off for a week and then turn it back on.
Okay. It's that part to me, I think I would also agree that it's just weirdly complex. I might be wrong, but that's to me, it just seems too many. It's like Bitcoin mining. Even Bitcoin mining to me often seems arbitrary. Like you just pick, every this often we'll cut the reward by this much, and every this often we'll raise the difficulty this much. Even that seems kind of arbitrary to me, and it takes a lot of skill. Not really skill. Maybe it's just luck. They just happen to pick the right numbers. Maybe it's just I don't know what it is, honestly. But it just seems tough that there could be this many factors into how Steem operates, and they're just going to happen to pick the right ones and make it work. That's what I would say about the complexity. My favorite part, though, I will say, from what I've just heard just now, I love the idea of like a monetized Reddit, because Reddit is just too easy to game. People do game it all the time. And I like the idea of the free market. I think people should be rewarded for liking things on Facebook. I think they should be rewarded for getting their things liked. That part I absolutely support. Somebody in the chat mentioned LTB coin. That had its problems because it was controlled kind of. But if you trusted them, which I do, then it's an awesome idea. Why not get involved, write a few forum posts and get some money? Sure, why not? That's kind of cool. Might not be a ton, but I am all for that kind of stuff. But then lastly, I think I would say I also kind of agree with Vortex. What's wrong with Bitcoin? It could have been added there. I don't know. That's...
and I just like to take a quick... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ansel.
I was just going to say, and Daniel, it's overly complex for Bitcoiners. I mean, Bitcoiners are used to this stuff already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Imagine trying to explain this to a normal person. Like normal people don't even get Bitcoin. There's no way they're going to spend the time to learn all of the different ins and outs of this.
Normal people can barely run their own bank account, but
well, that's true too. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this right now. There is a hell of a lot of women and girls in the Steem universe ecosystem, and the similarities to Reddit, the similarities to Facebook, actually make it really simple. And it's really I've noticed it's a lot more simple to explain the fundamental opportunity, the value proposition of SteemIt, than it is to get into some of the more understanding why Bitcoin is valuable requires understanding of a lot of things.
It sounds like you're saying it's easier to explain Reddit than it is to explain Bitcoin to somebody, which is true. But again, once they start to figure out all these levels and stuff and all these layers, I don't know how happy they're going to be about having 50% of their liquidity tied up. Also, I really think that something like this could just be so mowed over so quickly by a Bitcoin clone, by somebody doing this for Bitcoin.
And just imagine if it's a market cap of 10 billion, and they need a fork for some reason, and you're going to lose all your money, or there was some sort of hack that happened. I mean, if Reddit uses a token, that's easy. They can just credit your account. And I heard that's kind of Steem did something like that with the recent hack where they made people whole again somehow. So if it's centralized, it doesn't need a blockchain. That's just an added weakness, really, or attack vector.
Yeah, to me, it really does seem like you only need the blockchain for payments. I mean, at least, in this scenario that we have here, where we have a website where we need to get people paid. We need to get people paid for
settlements.
We need to get people settled for their content, and or paid for the content. Same thing. So they need to get their payment. Now, Bitcoin has solved the problem of sending value from A to B. So it just seems like somebody could create this clone, and then if there was ever a large market cap in Steem, remember, like if there's ever a large market cap in Steem, wouldn't the market cap in Bitcoin be that much bigger? So for example, there got to be $1 billion in Steem, right? Wouldn't Bitcoin at that point have to be at least like 20 billion, or it's just some huge bigger number?
I would say that Bitcoin would, I'd say Bitcoin would lead the advance on that. So the value of Bitcoin is climbing I predict that if the value of Bitcoin starts climbing, then due to the lack of Steem tokens available, the 98% of them being powered up, invested in the platform, it's going to be a lot harder to. You're not going to see as much of that negative correlation that you normally see with those tokens.
It seems like it's a race then. I guess everybody's just trying to race to get their blockchain in valuable before Bitcoin reaches like 50 billion or 100 billion, before it reaches critical mass. Well,
I still don't see this is the same thing I keep coming back to in all of my analysis I'm doing in the Bitcoin and blockchain world, is that this pie is not fixed. This pie has a lot of room to grow, and like I said, Bitcoin is the giant gear in the center of this whole ecosystem. So if Bitcoin fails and goes away, then everything else is going to be in chaos. So like we're not going to starve. We're the first into this game, and there's a lot of ground to cover. Yeah. But like all right, so Bitcoin versus SteemIt in like the Yours network. I've looked into the Yours network. They've got a lot of ground to cover. I think my instincts is that unless Steem has some serious problems and some serious hacks that they can't recover from, I don't see the network effects going away anytime soon.
Real quick, so here's what I see it as. I see it as not of this huge pie. I see this as protocols. I see it like I see FTP, HTTP over the internet. And what I see over the internet is we've been using TCP/IP for years for our protocol to transfer information. The world needs to agree on one base protocol in order to be built into hardware, devices, create an ecosystem of hardware around it, and so on and so forth. The world needs to agree on a single protocol for doing one simple thing. Now, the TCP/IP was just one simple thing, just transfers information, right? Then we wanted to add a few other things like FTP, SFTP, and we did, and video, and that's great. But everything still runs over the top of of IP, right? Over the top of TCP/IP. We have HTTP, we have FTP, we have all these other great protocols, but they all run over the top of TCP/IP. So it seems like the world needs to agree on one protocol to transfer value, like we agreed on one protocol to transfer information. Now, whether that's right or not, we could have like a world with just a million protocols, but it seems that's how we build ecosystems. This is how we build technological ecosystems, by having fundamental protocols at the base layer that we can all agree upon, so that we can then build up, and up.
I think to agree with that in a different way, I think we've mentioned attack vectors several times and complexity. I think that adding complexity on top of Bitcoin or on top of TCP/IP, those don't really affect the core protocol. If we added a Reddit system to Bitcoin, a monetized Reddit system, and somebody hacked it, and or like the Ethereum, depending on how they're connected, you might attack the DAO without attacking Ethereum. It's like email. Email is on top of TCP/IP, or actually, there's probably a different one for email, but
it's a POP and SMTP.
Yeah, SMTP. But then, all right, maybe this are there layers below TCP/IP, or does SMTP on top of TCP/IP?
So everything runs over the top of TCP/IP.
Okay. So SMTP is on top of TCP/IP, then, right?
Correct.
Okay. So if someone hacks Gmail, okay, they're not hacking email, they're just hacking Gmail. Correct. And if someone hacks SMTP, they're not hacking TCP/IP, they're just hacking SMTP. So if somebody built a website, they cryptographically, linked it into the Bitcoin blockchain and added tokens on top of the Bitcoin blockchain that you could put into this system, nothing is at risk except for this system. So it's like the DAO. Nothing is at risk except for whatever people put into the DAO, and then you could argue that the value will plummet because almost all of the Ethereum was in the DAO. I don't know about the percentages, but a lot of money was in the DAO.
A lot of money.
Yeah. So I guess my only point is we keep talking about attack vectors, but if complexity is a layer on top of a base layer, then it shouldn't really put the base layer at risk. That's all I wanted to say.
That's true, except that wasn't the case with Ethereum, because the problem wasn't with the DAO. The problem wasn't with the DAO. The problem was with how Solidity works, right? So they ran a recursion on that using actual Solidity. So the problem wasn't with the actual with Ethereum. So
right,
it's just interesting.
That's what I would just say is it depends how you connect them. And there certainly could be risks, especially if 95% of Bitcoin ended up on this decentralized Reddit or something.
Right. So yeah, it's going to be crazy because I would argue that if you took down the SteemIt website, I would definitely say that their protocol is probably going to be useless, right? Because their protocol is only powering one website right now. But
or Bittrex. Or Bittrex. That's the major exchange you can cash out of Steem.
Yeah.
So if you can't even,
you wouldn't be able to liquidate at all. So that's interesting too. But of course that'll probably change as if SteemIt gets more popular and they'll get on more exchanges. But yeah, it's just really hairy, man. When they have all of these different rules and things. If I have money, I want my freaking money. Like I don't care what protocol you're talking about, even if you're talking about fiat. If you say I got $100, I better be able to grab that $100 whenever the hell I need it. I mean, crap. If I had, people got kids, man. Those kids need shoes. Shit happens, and so.
I think it's a general rule that blockchain should do one thing. If there's all these new projects like Lisk and Steem and Ethereum, they're trying to do way too many things. So it should be a general rule that a blockchain should do one thing and one thing only, because like I say, it just opens up, and like Daniel was saying, it opens up everything. Like a Turing complete language, you're saying Solidity, it makes infinite attack vectors, because if a Turing complete language, by definition, you can do anything with it. So it's impossible to protect.
Yeah. I'm just pulling up the website here to see if I can see a couple things to see. People everybody claims everything can do everything. Like Dash is one of those that claims they can just do everything under the sun. Like if a new feature comes out, you better believe the Dash can do it. If it's instant transactions, or if you want super low fees, you want a decentralized governance, whatever you want, these people got. There's a new new, like we mentioned, Decred. There's a new protocol there that claims to have decentralized governance figured out. All the problems with Bitcoin, another chain has got that problem figured out. And from what we're seeing is that all of these problems that people say Bitcoin has by its simplicity, even the article that came out today with the other guy from CoinDesk, Ansel. I know you know what I'm talking about because you commented on the tweet, I believe. But
which one was it? Say again.
So he came out with an article literally just today about Ethereum and how Ethereum could soar past Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, I saw the headline. I don't know. I might have just retweeted it.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Ethereum just forked, has now two chains, lost its immutability, but now it can go past Bitcoin. I mean, they're two completely different things. Like, I don't want to hate on Ethereum, because Ethereum, if they figure out the security problems and they figure out how to actually scale it, it could be like an amazing platform. And that could be awesome. But it's never going to have the liquidity that Bitcoin has, because it's not a store of value and it's not a freaking currency.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Ansel.
On a very fundamental level, I think blockchains, Satoshi invented the blockchain and stuff. I think it works for currency. It does not work for all these other things. If people want to have these decentralized social networks and stuff, they're going to have to invent something else. Now we see a blockchain and in hindsight, yeah, that's perfect for a decentralized application. But the invention that's going to enable these social networks to be decentralized is not a blockchain. It's something else that is yet to be discovered. Blockchains are for currency.
And it seems, well, yeah, Bitcoin Uncensored says this all the time, but it's just right now the only useful case, the only use case scenario for a blockchain is to transfer money. is to use it as a currency. Now that's going to change over the years, but right now, 7.5 years later, that's still the only global use case scenario that works. Not only works, but works in the public and works at scale is very important. Works at scale. So, I saw you drop out there, Blake. Do you have anything left to add on there at all, or Steem wise, or anything like that? We were just talking about blockchains.
Yeah, there's some really interesting things that I've seen already in Steem. Like coming from the background of where I was in the military and what I did in the military, of like unconventional warfare and how useful digital currencies would be in unconventional warfare. Seeing some, like, there's a dude on Steem that got, like, he's from can't remember what country. It's a African country, but anyway, he got like $15,000 on a post that he was talking about how Steem and him blogging on Steem has allowed him to go from like $1 a day to basically he's financially independent now within a matter of months, because like you're talking about the blockchain, it's less currency is a part of it. It's transfer of value. So like the internet, the reason it shifted paradigms is because it allowed for a decentralized transfer of information, but the blockchains allow for a decentralized transfer of value, and Bitcoin is the core of that. So like there's going to be a lot of things that are coming out of these ecosystems that are just like a whole bunch of technology lines are converging into really, really crazy things that we can't even really fathom right now. But it's,
well, I tell you, all these things that are coming out, I guarantee you they're all going to be tradable for Bitcoin. So let's see. So that's a pretty good end to that topic. I think we can move on to our final topic. Speaking about Bitcoin and its changing and never evolving self that it is. To talk about the fiber network here. Let me paste in the link to the chat. Before we get started, if everybody watching could just share out the show, go ahead and tweet or Facebook out. We would love more people watching the show. Let me just paste this in to, yes. Okay, cool. So we're talking about basically Bitcoin's nervous system is the name of the article. It's a horrible name for the article, but Bitcoin's nervous system gets an upgrade with the fiber network. And using nervous system to describe Bitcoin is pretty freaking strange. But anyway, it's just people trying to get bait clicks and such. So, what I want to talk about is Bitcoin and the upcoming scaling. Bitcoin scaling and the upcoming solutions that are coming out of what seem to be the woodwork to scale it up from where it is now, from the 1 megabyte block and from the 7 transactions per second. So first, we'll go with Ansel. What do you think about fiber, and what do you think about all these other ones that are coming out? Falcon, Lightning Network, and so on. You muted again. He's muted again.
Fiber is pretty cool. I think it's it runs on UDP, right? So it's a different protocol than TCP. It's a lot faster, and I don't know what the exact what they've clocked it at or anything, but it's going to be really good for scaling for the big blocks when they do come. I think the rest of this year is going to be dedicated, at least in Bitcoin, to talking about the block size debate again. Now that we've got through the halvening and Lightning Network and SegWit are coming up, the block size debate's going to come back into the forefront, and this fiber is just one more step into making that a reality. So I think it's good.
Interesting. So let me ask you, Daniel, what do you think about fiber and Falcon and Lightning Network, and how viable are these solutions, and what do you think about them?
Yeah, I think I would just like Ansel. I don't know if I have a ton to say other than it's all pretty great stuff. I mean, there's projects that might work out and projects that might not work out. I know there's the Lightning Network and the Thunder Network and stuff like that. This fiber one, yeah, it's good. It seems really cool. I took a data, like networking and data transfer class a few years back, and I didn't pay as much attention as I probably should have, and it was just a first level class. But it's all fascinating stuff. I mean, to learn about compression algorithms and different analog versus digital and how they avoid error correction in different ones, and what Hamming codes, like trying to detect errors and figure out where the errors are, and it's just fascinating stuff, and it's stuff that Bitcoin needs, and that should, if it's done right, it should absolutely be helpful. Yeah, let's make things faster, more reliable, less prone to error, more prone to fixing errors. I mean, sure. I mean, it's great stuff. Data transfer is just crazy, and Bitcoin needs it. It's great.
Cool. All right, Blake, your turn, man. What do you think about this?
So I haven't grasped, like, I'm aware of all the terms of all the new scaling approaches that are on the way, and I have probably an understanding of about 50% of it, and probably just like the baseline of what they are proposing to do with them. So
this seems all be pay channels, Lightning Network, fiber, kind of just pay channels, kind of like big, huge proof of stake systems, sort of.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's the goal is to kind of automate a lot of it. I don't know if automate's the right word, but
the main goal is speed, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, speed and you're increasing throughput, and you're increasing the amount of transactions you can get done reliably in a shorter amount of time. So you can, yeah. Well, the only thing I can think of is, like, will they overlap with each other and cause problems for each other, and how far will that extend the development timeline? And I think I'm sure that's being looked at by some much more intelligent people than myself on the technical side. So, hopefully it doesn't create more social engineering attack vectors. Next, we're going to be arguing about, whatever fiber does or may not do, and whether or not, so we got sock puppet account telling everyone
whichever one gets chosen, right? Yeah, whichever one gets chosen, then that one will be the one that's talked about on Reddit, how that one's gonna fail and stuff like that. So
you mentioned that fiber was, or you might have just suggested, I don't know if you actually asserted this, but is it true that fiber is a kind of payment channel?
Yeah, payment channel, a lot similar, a lot like Lightning Network.
Okay, does that mean that I guess what I'm wondering is,
as far as I know, it's for propagating blocks.
It's technically a Bitcoin relay network.
So I haven't read a ton about it. I'm like Blake. It's a lot of new stuff to me, and I absolutely do not know the details. But from what I understood, it seemed like it was almost like we were just talking about layers. The Lightning Network, I would say, is a layer on top of Bitcoin. It uses the Bitcoin protocol and makes different connections, and there's escrow and stuff like that. From what I understood, it was almost like fiber was a layer below Bitcoin, where it was optimizing the way that blocks are transferred, make them transferred faster with more reliability, fewer errors. I could be wrong on that, but
it is using. Let me see here. I just had it. 1 second. Small. Oh no.
That's an interesting point, but it is separate.
Yeah, real quick. So it says that it's using compact blocks. Building compact blocks is the foundation, and early versions. Yeah, I apologize. I usually have Gabriel on here, and I tried to have him on tonight. He's the one who usually gets really technical with this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I guess it's probably not a payment channel. The Lightning Network is the payment channel, and this would be something. This is a Bitcoin relay network. So for simply just passing blocks faster. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. How all of these different proposals are coming up. It says that it does involve BIP 152 for compact blocks. So it involves some interesting changes, and I think that all of these combined, the Falcon fiber compact blocks.
I'll jump off. Someone wants to get on. Maybe he knows more.
Oh, sure. Who is it? Let's see here. Jay Smith, Dev. Okay. Let's see. Let's have him on here. He can come in here and check it out. Jay Smith. But yeah, basically, you got to call in there, Jay Smith. Just click the link, click the call in button, and then I can have you on here. But yeah,
I do remember something. I remember reading something.
Okay,
I'll
go ahead.
regurgitate what I read because I think it it sounds right. Yeah, one of the things that the fiber network aims to do is decrease the orphan rate too. That's that's one thing that it helps.
Interesting. Cool. So Julian Smith, how you doing, Julian?
Hey guys, doing well yourselves?
Pretty good. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no dramas at all. Block freight is blockchain of freight, and one of the things we look at is over a 6-year horizon. If we scale our network, we need about 8 million transactions per day of token, which is a counterparty token. Of course, for each transaction of a counterparty token, you essentially need a transaction of a piece of Bitcoin. And so if Bitcoin can take 220, 250, 300,000 transactions a day, there's a gap there. So one of the things that Counterparty is looking at is using Lightning transactions on Bitcoin as a way to actually carry additional transactions on Counterparty. So there's a scaling synergy that applies to each.
Very interesting. So basically what we're saying is this will increase the. Let me ask you this. So will this increase the throughput of Bitcoin transactions on the actual Bitcoin blockchain, or will this create a separate channel?
Sorry, for fiber or Lightning?
First fiber.
So my understanding of fiber is it's about block propagation. So it's really an issue for miners. Here at the Melbourne Bitcoin Technology Centre, Bitcoin Group is a Australia-China mining operation. So they're particularly concerned with aspects that pertain to the needs of miners. But the Bitcoin Centre is a co-working space that incubates businesses that are building products and services on top of Bitcoin, our own startup being one of them. So we're more concerned about the utility that the network yields for other applications. So it's interesting that at some point you're having coffee and you work out on the back of an envelope, wow, there's actually just not enough transactions for something at commercial scale. Now that doesn't concern us today, obviously, because we're in our infancy, but if you're going to go and speak to industry about how blockchains are really important to the future of their IT stack, and you don't have a plausible narrative or a conversation about how success would look, it's really hard to get their buy-in.
Interesting. So now Lightning Network, that's the payment channel, of course, where it actually locks up a certain amount of Bitcoin with check lock verified, basically.
And Lightning Labs, Thad is one of the people that's proactively building out a working implementation of Lightning networks. And I know that Blockstream, the developer who's also an Australian, memory fails me momentarily, is also working on an implementation. So I think that Lightning is not vaporware; it's inside of 6 months away.
That's what I'm thinking. I think between 12 and 18 months. Let me ask you this, because you seem pretty educated in the space here, there, Julian. Let me ask you: do you think within 12 to 18 months the whole scaling debate should be over at that point? Within 12 to 18 months, we should have implementations of Lightning Network and Fiber and Falcon and all of that running live.
Um, so when I look at the Bitcoin space moving forwards, and taking into account what's just happened in Ethereum, it's not completely inconceivable that there is a coming fork of Bitcoin to occur. And what I mean by that is there seems to be ideological camps that are seeing Bitcoin as that settlement network and Bitcoin as that peer-to-peer currency or something that gets used as a transactional network. So Thomas Sowell, an economist, has said that there are no solutions, only trade-offs, and Bitcoin is one of those places where I think this is quite true. Any accommodation or affordance of one particular use case is necessarily at the expense of the other use case. So Bitcoin as a censorship-resistant distributed technology that can't be sort of gone after is necessarily weakened by creating bigger blocks that mean that only internet connections that can support and sustain the data's throughput become full nodes on the network. That allows greater transactions, but at the expense of having a computer that's on the end of an ADSL connection be able to be a full node. So taking transactions off the chain sort of changes the trust dynamic. There's this no free lunch arrangement at play. So the question then becomes, given that there is no free lunch, is one Bitcoin able to serve all three of these use cases? Or is there necessarily going to be a structural separation into more than one Bitcoin in the future? It's not a question I can answer, but it's certainly something I've been thinking about.
Interesting. So possibility of multiple Bitcoins.
Yeah. I would not find it surprising if there is. The converse argument is that you want the greatest security, so that's a pressure to be on the single chain. So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I still see Bitcoin as evolving more towards this digital gold than a payment network. Because the digital gold stuff is hard. Payment network is easy, right? We got PayPal, we got traditional payment stuff. The payment network is down. What we need is a decentralized, censorship resistant base layer of digital gold with no counterparty risk that we can then build anything we want on top of that, right? Because you can build currency on top of that, can you not? With layer 2 technologies like Thunder and Bitcoin Thunder and Lightning and counterparty and all these other technologies.
So also, if we see a way to create pegs which are agreed upon, like a two-way peg, because you could almost say that counterparty is a one-way peg to Bitcoin, each token being requiring an underlying Bitcoin transaction. So will the Bitcoin protocol evolve to recognize other chains? Is that still in the for a period of time? I figure that a show like this should be based on content that answers questions, and I'm just jumping on to ask a bunch of new ones, and that's not necessarily that helpful. But
we're discussing too. The show is also a big part of the show is also just discussing. Because what I want the show to be about is enthusiasts, discussing Bitcoin stuff. So I don't want it to be experts or a show really about people who claim to be experts. For sure, I don't want anybody on my show claiming that they're a Bitcoin expert. That's a real quick way to never come on my show again. Because I want people to know that that this is a brand new space. This space is just evolving constantly at breakneck speeds. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous at this point to try to keep up. We're talking 2 years time and the entire landscape changes. We haven't had a landscape move that fast really since the early days of the internet. So but now the internet's kind of settling a little bit. We have our Facebook, we have our YouTube, we got kind of our set kind of zones. So I think Bitcoin is going to have ways to go with that before we have our set services that we use Bitcoin with. And really worth looking at like 2020, in my opinion. Around that time is when we can really have a bunch of companies to point to and say, yeah, that's what we use Bitcoin for. That's what we use Bitcoin for.
So scaling Bitcoin or increasing the block size or creating technology that allows for more transactions in a period of time is not necessarily just about the economic or the money use. Given that you do have counterparty assets out there that exist on top, given that you have other people that are using op return and notary function for additional use cases, I think that there is an increasing demand for Bitcoin transactions. So this scaling is not just about money; it's really about ushering in an interdependence between Bitcoin and blockchains more broadly. If we're not talking about R3-Sev closed environments, sort of databases with multi-key, but if we're talking about things that are either open or that they have some sort of interaction with blockchain as a authoritative immutable record, then
we're trying to talk about blockchains that will have value in the future. So we're talking about the open public blockchains. Sorry, continue.
So I think that Lightning facilitates more than just payments. It's more than just dragging Bitcoin into being paying for your coffee. It is about just increasing the sheer availability of a transaction set that can be in there. And this is on the whole a positive thing. In fact, the fact that counterparty, for us personally, the fact that counterparty is saying, okay, we know Lightning and we've got to use it to increase the amount of counterparty transactions that can occur is a reasonably sound way for us to move forward with confidence that in several years from now, if we get to that 8 million transactions a day, we can sustain that rate potentially.
So let me ask you then, what do you think of Thunder then?
I haven't read enough about Thunder, and therefore I have no opinion formed yet.
Is it another payment channel like Lightning, or do we not know?
I don't know yet.
Okay. I'm saying this.
Now I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Exactly, I'm telling you, the space moves so fast.
I've got to go read about Thunder, obviously.
Exactly. And Falcon too. Did you say anything about Falcon yet? Yeah, so got to read about Falcon too then. So Falcon or Thunder then. So yeah, it's just crazy. People are talking about how Bitcoin's never going to scale and Bitcoin's moving so slow. It's like, what are you guys talking about? Like, Andreas Antonopoulos says this a lot. He's got a full-time job in Bitcoin, and he still can't keep up with the amount of BIPs, the BIPs that are coming out, and with the amount of scaling opportunities that are coming out, the scaling possible scaling solutions that are being released in the form of white papers like Falcon, Thunder, and Lightning, and it's just getting kind of crazy. And then now we're going to see all these implementations of Lightning, Thunder, and Falcon, and so it's going to get even more. And yeah, I really think that the debate is going to be opened back up for a little bit towards the end of this year.
Sorry, Julie. 2 years ago, we 2 years ago we took the lease on this space and moved in as a community to have a physical space for a digital currency, for an idea. And my big recollection of that period of time is every 2 or 3 days something new might happen in the Bitcoin space, and we'd rush to the other members and say, "Oh, did you hear about such and such?" That Cambrian explosion of movement and activity has gone to the point where every single day there's 20 things happening, 2 of which I catch, and it's beyond a full-time job for any one person to try and maintain some sort of dashboard of visibility of what is happening in the space. Brave New Coin is out of our office for one of their locations around the world, and those guys are just working on chewing through content and stories and information all the time. They must be doing 12-hour days in there just to sort of navigate a course through the deluge.
It's crazy. So let me ask you one last question. I know Ansel's got some stuff too, but let me ask you one last question. So you're saying you're using Counterparty over there? Are you using Counterparty? So if you are using Counterparty, then why are you using that over Ethereum?
Because presciently I was more confident that Bitcoin is a stable base to build on top of. If you would, so we use counterparty token as a payment token. We sell a token like a concert ticket. You redeem that concert ticket to get into our blockchain for rate. So because it is money-like, it's not a speculative unit. It's just a key, a token for access. But it has a economic use within our business model. We felt that Bitcoin is the chain for money, and a counterparty is an open environment to create economic assets. So it seemed like the right tool for that job.
Okay, very interesting. All right, and sorry, go ahead.
Whereas our blockchain itself is a different chain. It's being built with a Tendermint stack to just be JSON, where the data payload is a JSON bill of lading, a document that is used in shipping. So each transaction is industry specific.
Okay, very interesting, very interesting. Ansel, I know you got some questions. Ben, what do you got?
Yeah, I just Julian, nice to meet you. I thought you came out here and did you just hit it right out of the park right away that Bitcoin's going to fork. It's going to fork in the future, probably in the next 6 to 12 months. But I think that if it forks more than once, at least a hard fork, it's not a good thing. So yeah, I think we're going to see one fork in the future, and that's going to be for the block size. Everything else after that can be layer 2 or soft forks, as we've seen. So yeah, that's what I'm expecting is one fork in the next year, maybe by the end of this year. But that would be pretty fast for Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin probably would take about a year from now.
At the latest, end of next year, right? I mean, at the latest.
Yeah.
It's got the community wants a fork, so I mean we're gonna have to hard fork to something. Now obviously that's still, lame, because okay, so we forked to 2 megabyte. Oh well, I mean, it would take gigabyte blocks, multi-hundred gigabyte blocks to really serve Visa type levels and stuff. So getting us to hard forking to 2 megabyte, I don't even know if that's worth it. If we should just I think we should just keep it as it is and continue with layer 2 research instead. But probably gonna have a fork. Hopefully we don't create 2 chains though. Hopefully, like Ethereum did. Hopefully we all stay on one chain. Did you have anything else, Ansel?
No, just other than I also liked how you brought up the Ethereum and how people are going to be studying what happened over the last week, big time going into the Bitcoin hard fork. All the researchers and stuff haven't had a chance to look at the data. So once they kind of dig into that, I think Bitcoin will have learned a lot from what just happened with Ethereum.
Yeah, it's crazy how much we're all going to learn from each other. Blake,
yeah,
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Julian.
No, so but having referenced earlier, right tool for the job, we do see Ethereum's smart contracting layer as being something that can be included in the embodiment of our stack, that people who are doing transactions between themselves by reference to a Ethereum-based smart contract should be able to embed that as data within a transaction. So I'm not sort of opposed to there being a distributed computation engine. The Ethereum project itself is creating something that is materially different, but surely the value prop between what is Bitcoin and what is Ethereum are different. And the whole Ether pricing is not about anything other than ensuring that it is spam protected, that there is something at stake to a transaction, so that transactions are considered or that they have some economic basis.
Yep. Yeah, and I really think this all these chains and competing and stuff, and really, it's not even really fully competing. Obviously, the mining is competing and stuff, but really, we're all going to benefit and learn from each other. We're all going to create all these crazy, amazing, decentralized, mechanisms, and what I think is going to come out of this, the big realization is that the best the best applications are going to use all of them, right? The best applications are going to be the ones that use all the great technologies when they need to be used. So, you're not going to just be using Bitcoin. You're not going to just be using Counterparty or just be using Ethereum. Like Julian said, you're going to be using them each at their own different layer for their own different use case. And so, I hate to see all of this hostility between the teams, between Ethereum and between Bitcoin, and then all of these, like the recent article that came out today, talking about how Ethereum could just shoot past Bitcoin, and it's like, really? I mean, I don't see. Let me ask you, Julian, do you see Ethereum in any possible way ever passing up Bitcoin, even though they're completely two different use case scenarios, completely two different things materially?
Well, past it in terms of the number of smart contracts, maybe, value. But then
market value.
So in the short term, the market is a voting machine. In the long term, it's a weighing machine. So over what period of time are you talking about?
Sure. So let's just say I guess the short term would be 3 to 5 years. So I'm guessing your vote would be no, but then long term would be 5 to 10 years.
So if you look at how the language of value today is government issued currency, and banks being in a favorable position to attach arbitrary value through fractional reserve to things in the world. And then you look at the blockchain projects that are occurring in the traditional finance sector. I think that the lion's share of it is on Ethereum. So does that mean that the flow of traditional finance to Ethereum in that period of time can mean that the dollar denominated value of Ethereum exceeds Bitcoin? Yeah, potentially. It's not irrational to think that markets can act irrationally for a period of time.
Interesting. Yeah, true. Markets definitely act irrationally all the time. That's just what they do, because markets are just people. So, very cool. Thank you for the technical details.
Thanks for the time. I'll bail and let someone else jump in.
Cool. Thanks, Julian. I don't have anybody else though. So if you want to stay, I don't have anybody else though. I mean, we're actually. I think that was my last subject. Isn't it? That was my last subject. Yeah. So. Okay. So you might as well just stay on until the end, and then so you can plug something. So that was pretty much it. Very much thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to my guests so much. Really appreciate the time. With talking about Steem and Ethereum and all this stuff. It's really exciting, and I really love talking about it. And like I said, we're not completely experts, though. Julian is probably an expert. The rest of us here are just mostly enthusiasts. No, we're just I think everybody in the space really is enthusiast at this point. You just can't call yourself, an expert yet. The space is just constantly evolving and constantly changing. So really fascinating. That's why a lot of people are here. That's partly why I'm here, as well as in addition to take away the power of printing money from central banks. But that's something else. So thanks so much, guys, for joining. You can find us here again every other Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific. If you missed us here, we actually upload our show to the World Crypto Network YouTube channel as well. We usually do that the next day, so you can always find us there and add YouTube comments at that point. We love hearing your comments about the show, and helps us improve it. So thanks again, guys. Blake, where can we find you, man?
Twitter, I guess. Yeah, bmiles84.
bmiles84. Keep posting those SteemIt tweets.
Will do. I'm going to challenge you. You'd be able to post this on Steem. Make an account and post it. Sandwich to make.
Oh yeah, I should do that. I got to do that.
Post this video.
To be honest, I was going to sign up the other day, but the signups were down for a period.
It's up now. We're good.
So. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Ansel, thanks so much again. This is the first time Ansel's been on the show as well. So, Ansel, thanks so much for joining us. Where can we find you, man?
Yeah, it was really fun. You can find me at bitcoinmarkets.com for my podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, great podcast I've listened to, I think, almost all of them so far. It's a relatively new podcast, so I've listened to like 3 or 4 or 5 of them at least. So awesome stuff, man. Thanks so much for those. And then Julian, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for popping in. We really appreciate it. This is part of why I love Blab, part of why I do this show, man, so we can make new connections, make new acquaintances. And I got to have you back on the show, Julian. You've got some you've got some technical knowledge there that I think that would be really beneficial to a lot of the audience, a lot of people in this space, man. So really, thanks for coming on.
Maybe next time we can pan around to the mining museum. We have probably one of the largest collections of dead pieces of hardware spanning the generations of ASIC.
That's awesome.
So
that's cool.
That's epic.
So anyone visiting Melbourne, Australia is welcome to visit the Melbourne Bitcoin Technology Centre. We're a 5-minute walk from Flinders Street Station, which is pretty much the central train station in Melbourne. You can find the Melbourne Bitcoin Technology Centre at bitcoincentre.co. I'm fortunate enough to be working on a startup, Block Freight, inside the centre. We're at blockfreight.com. And anyone that's got questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us.
Definitely check it out, guys. This guy knows what he's talking about. So very cool. Thanks again, guys, so much for joining us. Thanks so much. We really appreciate it. And you know what? I have, of course, am the host. You can find me at theonevortex on Twitter. So I'll post new shows whenever we have a new show there. So thanks again for joining us, wherever you guys are. And till next time, keep talking Bitcoin. Thanks, guys.